Sometimes the NBA calendar gives us marquee matchups. Other times, it gives us battles of survival, tests of identity, and games where momentum swings feel like defining pivot points. November 22, 2025 delivers all of that in one night. 7 games, 14 picks, and a slate filled with desperation, revival, chaos, and control. Welcome back to Beyond the Box Score, where numbers breathe, storylines collide, and every prediction feels like a journey. If you're ready, let's dive straight in. The first game takes us to a place where records don't tell the whole truth. The Clippers and Hornets enter with identical 4-11 marks, each thirsty for direction, each limping into the night on losing streaks that have drained confidence and raised questions. But games like this are never about records. They're about which team believes it can flip the script right now. For the Clippers, everything begins with James Harden. He is the metronome, setting tempo, slowing chaos, carving the floor with 26.5 points, 8.6 assists, and a surgical 91.3% at the line. Yet for all of Harden's precision, Law's defense has been a cracked foundation, 117.1 points allowed, broken rotations, and a 3-game stretch where opponents torched them for 129, 110, and 121. Zubac battles inside with 11.3 rebounds on 61.5% shooting. Chris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr. try to spark defensive resistance. But the cohesion just hasn't been there. Charlotte, on the other hand, may be losing, but they are losing loudly. Their offense hits 116.6 per night. They fire with pace, collect 46 rebounds, and stack 26.3 assists like a team that knows exactly how it wants to play. Miles Bridges is steady at 22.3 per game, while LaMelo Ball brings electricity, 21.1 points, 9.6 assists, and a fearless stroke from deep. Their recent losses haven't been collapses, they've been shootouts. Tight battles where the Hornets looked dangerous, alive, and inches away from breaking through. The matchup is a study in contrast. Harden's methodical control versus LaMelo's kinetic chaos. One slows the world down. The other speeds it up. One manipulates the game. The other lets the game erupt around him. This duel shapes everything: tempo, emotion, rhythm, and the subtle pulse of the night. And yet, when all the noise settles, one truth stands out: Charlotte's pace and offensive creation push them over the edge late. The Clippers rely on efficiency from Harden and Zubac to survive stretches, but Charlotte's tempo and collective scoring give them a path to outlast LA in crunch time. My pick for this matchup is Los Angeles Clippers as the winner, but the momentum and scoring engines still pull this game into a high-octane track meet. So my second pick is total over 219.5. From Charlotte, the night shifts next to New Orleans, where momentum meets desperation in a collision of two teams living completely different realities. Atlanta arrives as a confident 9-7 squad, firing at 117.8 points per game, moving the ball crisply, and sitting comfortably with a 73% win projection. New Orleans enters on a 7-game slide, sitting at 2-13, fighting injuries, inconsistency, and the weight of expectations they haven't met. Atlanta's profile is clean, balanced, structured. Jalen Johnson drives the engine with 22.3 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 6.6 assists, playing like a breakout two-way star who understands both the moment and the responsibility. Trae Young hasn't shot well, but his 17.8 points and 7.8 assists keep the floor organized. The Hawks score 120+ in 4 of their last 5. Their system feels real. Their rhythm feels repeatable. New Orleans counters with heart, effort, and flashes, but not stability. Trey Murphy 3 delivers 19.9 points and elegant efficiency. Zion bullies his way to 21.3 on nearly 60%. Shooting. Jordan Poole fires 17.3 a night. But the theme is the same every night. Enough scoring to hang around, not enough defense to stay alive when the game tightens. They give up 122.1 per game. Their last 5 show effort, but never control. So the duel becomes Jalen Johnson versus Trey Murphy, power versus polish, downhill force versus smooth scoring. Murphy brings finesse. Johnson brings dominance. And dominance, more often than not, decides basketball games. My pick for this matchup is Atlanta Hawks as the winner. They have structure, rhythm, and depth. New Orleans has sparks, not fire. And with both teams capable of scoring, this one shapes up as another high-total shootout. My second pick is total over 228.5. Next, the night takes us to Milwaukee, where the Pistons walk in like a team that has rediscovered belief. Detroit at 13-2. Milwaukee at 8-8. One team rising with confidence, the other fading under the weight of injuries in a 3-game skid. But the story runs deeper than the standings. Detroit has become a machine. 5th in the league in scoring at 118.9. Balanced offense. 48.9% shooting. 10 steals per night. 6 blocks. They move the ball with 33.1 assists, the mark of a team that trusts itself completely. Cade Cunningham is the conductor, putting up 27.3 points and 9.9 assists with poise beyond his years. Duren pounds the glass with 21.1 points and 11.9 boards. Ausar Thompson brings defensive pressure and versatility. The Pistons are no longer a young team with potential, they're a legitimate Eastern threat. Milwaukee leans heavily on Giannis' relentless dominance. 31.2 points, 10.8 rebounds, 6.8 assists on 62.9% shooting. He remains unstoppable, but the Bucks as a whole have struggled to match his force. Turnovers, defensive slippage, and inconsistent rebounding have turned close games into painful losses. Kuzma, Miles Turner, and Ryan Rollins each contribute, but fatigue and injuries have eroded their stability. The matchup is epic. Cade versus Giannis. Precision versus power. Calculated orchestration versus uncontainable force. One bends the game through IQ and playmaking. The other shatters it with sheer physicality. But Detroit arrives sharper, deeper, and healthier. Their balance and ball movement overwhelm Milwaukee's shortened rotation. My pick for this matchup is Detroit Pistons as the winner, and with both offenses firing, my second pick is total over 225.5. Finally, the night takes us to Denver, where dominance meets desperation in the most lopsided matchup of the evening. Sacramento, at 3-13, arrives on an 8-game skid. Denver, at 11-3, rides confidence, control, and championship-level rhythm. The Nuggets have already taken the first 2 meetings of the season, and tonight they look to slam the door shut once again. Sacramento scores 111 per game but gives up 124.4, a gap too large for consistent survival. Zach LaVine scores 21.9 but on low efficiency. Sabonis rebounds but hasn't been able to anchor the defense. Their recent games haven't just been losses, they've been wipeouts. 5 straight defeats by double digits, including margins of 39, 24, 13, 14, and 33. Denver, meanwhile, looks like a polished juggernaut. Jokic is simply overwhelming. 29.1 points, 13.2 rebounds, 11.1 assists, elite efficiency everywhere on the court. Jamal Murray adds 22.2. Aaron Gordon brings 18.3 and rugged two-way presence. Their offense hits 124.6 per game, paired with clean defense and sharp execution. Their last 5 have been wins defined by composure, not chaos. LaVine versus Jokic becomes the story, but it's not a duel. It's a contrast. LaVine fights for buckets. Jokic commands the entire geometry of the game. One tries to ignite scoring runs. The other controls everything: pace, spacing, energy, and decision-making. With Sacramento struggling to defend, rebound, and maintain rhythm, Denver's machine-like precision becomes overwhelming. My pick for this matchup is Denver Nuggets as the winner, and with Sacramento scoring enough to keep short bursts interesting, my second pick is total over 234.5. The Eastern Conference spotlight shifts to Orlando where momentum collides with ambition, and two franchises rising in parallel meet in a game that feels far bigger than a simple early season contest. New York arrives at 9-5, sitting third in the East, powered by confidence and hardened by close game battles. Orlando stands at 9-7, ninth in the conference, but playing some of their best basketball of the season on their home floor. Even the matchup predictor reflects how razor-thin the margin is, 51.3% leaning toward Orlando, just 48.7% toward New York, suggesting a duel shaped by detail, discipline, and late-game nerve. With Toronto pushing the pace behind them, these teams step into the night knowing this is a tone-setter: toughness, depth, execution, and clarity of identity all on display. New York walks into the Amway Center wielding a high-octane attack, averaging 120.8 points per game on 46.0% shooting. Their engine is constant, fueled by clean ball movement at 27.3 assists per game and supported by rugged work on the glass, 47.0 rebounds that anchor their rhythm. Defensively, they swipe 8.4 steals and send back 4.4 blocks, leaning heavily on length and physicality to create their own momentum. Their offense revolves around a master craftsman. Jalen Brunson has elevated himself into an elite early season rhythm, 28.0 points per game on 46.8% shooting, hitting 36.3% from deep and 84.8% at the line. Alongside him, Karl Anthony Towns delivers versatility few defenders can comfortably solve. He enters at 21.5 points per game on 47.1% shooting, 31.7% from three, 87.4% at the stripe, while pulling down 12.8 rebounds and adding 3.4 assists, shaping the attack from the inside out. Orlando counters with balance, discipline, and length that forces opponents into uncomfortable decisions. They put up 116.7 points per game on 45.3% shooting, leaning on interior strength and steady perimeter efficiency. Their defense is anchored by collective size, producing 8.5 steals, 5.5 blocks, and 45.3 rebounds per game. Franz Wagner leads their scoring charge at 22.6 points on 50.6% shooting and 33.3% from deep, blending smoothness with downhill power. Paolo Banchero adds two-way star presence, 21.7 points, 8.7 rebounds, 4.1 assists, 83.5% at the line, with 48.7% shooting overall. Jalen Suggs sharpens the edges with 13.4 points, 4.9 assists, 1.7 steals, and tough-minded efficiency that elevates Orlando's identity every night. The statistical contrast between these teams defines the opening chapters of the matchup. New York brings firepower, creation, and tempo that can warp defensive structure. Orlando brings steadiness, resistance, and a commitment to disrupting rhythm. The question becomes whether New York's scoring engine can overwhelm the Magic's discipline, or whether Orlando's length can fracture the timing that makes the Knicks so dangerous. New York steps in having won 4 of their last 5, navigating tight contests with improved poise. Their week features a 113-111 win over Dallas, a grinding victory against Memphis, and a competitive shootout loss to Miami. They've put up at least 113 points in 4 straight, showing late-game structure and confidence in their execution. Orlando's form is even sharper, 4 wins in their last 5. They crushed the Clippers 129-101, controlled Golden State 121-113, edged Brooklyn, and dropped a narrow battle to New York, a small reminder of just how thin the gap between these teams truly is. Their defense has tightened, holding 2 opponents under 105 points while showing impressive poise in late-game situations. Both teams enter confident, but Orlando arrives with a 2-game win streak and a home crowd that has turned into a genuine advantage. And at the heart of it all lies a marquee duel shaping the night. Jalen Brunson versus Franz Wagner, the strength of precision against the smoothness of versatility. Brunson is playing at a near MVP rhythm, 28.0 points, 6.4 assists, elite shot selection, and masterful command of late clock situations. His mid-range timing is a weapon, his foul line efficiency a stabilizer, and his decision-making the blueprint behind New York's identity. Wagner steps forward with 22.6 points on high-level efficiency, using 3-level scoring and improved awareness to keep Orlando's offense flowing. Banchero adds a power wing counterpunch, while Towns stands as the ultimate swing piece. If Towns controls the glass and drags Orlando's interior defenders into uncomfortable space, the matchup shifts instantly. New York's scoring power will test the Magic's rotations. Orlando defends with verticality and long arms, but New York's drive and kick tempo forces difficult reads possession after possession. Expect Brunson to hunt mismatches in the pick and roll and Towns to stretch the defense in ways that can open the floor for Clarkson, McBride, and anyone who finds rhythm. The rebounding battle carries weight. New York at 47.0, Orlando at 45.3. Towns and Mitchell Robinson are the key force for the Knicks, while Banchero and Wendell Carter Jr. respond with physical contests and positional rebounding. Second chance points could shape the game's final chapter. Turnovers may decide the story. Orlando thrives whenever Suggs or Wagner jumps a passing lane, using their 8.5 steals to fuel quick strike transition runs. New York counters with calculated precision, limiting risky passes and playing at a deliberate half-court pace that keeps opponents guessing. Tempo isn't just a stat here, it's territory. Whichever team claims it gains control of the night. After analyzing both teams, the prediction begins to take form. New York brings heavy perimeter volume and shot creation. Orlando brings steadier efficiency and defensive presence. If Bridges, Clarkson, or McBride catch rhythm, New York stretches the floor in ways that complicate Orlando's structure. But Wagner and Banchero attacking downhill can collapse New York's defense and create open looks that Orlando thrives on. The depth battle tightens the margin. New York leaning on Clarkson's scoring and McBride's reliability, Orlando leveraging Jonathan Isaac's defense, Carter Jr.'s rebounding, and timely shooting from Desmond Bane. X factors emerge. Mitchell Robinson's rim protection, Jalen Suggs's defensive pressure, the accuracy of spot-up shooters on both sides. In the end, the game feels like a late-game duel decided by composure and execution. New York will find stretches of rhythm, but Orlando's length, home pulse, and defensive stability tilt the final moments. The Magic's balance holds just long enough, sealing a win that fuels their surge. The second pick follows. Total over 224.5. The scene shifts to Washington versus Chicago, a matchup dripping with urgency despite it being early in the calendar. Washington enters at 1-13, fighting through a 12-game slide, while Chicago stands at 8-6, carrying the confidence of a team sharpening its identity. The matchup meter leans heavily toward the Bulls, and both teams know exactly what's at stake. Washington searches for traction. Chicago looks upward, eyeing a climb into the East's top tier. Washington scores 112.6 points, but opponents torch them for 128.9, an alarming number that reveals a defense struggling to establish structure. They shoot 46%, rebound at 43.9, and move the ball with 25.2 assists, but turnovers sting deeply. Their 16.6 giveaways fuel opposing transition attacks and strip momentum before rhythm can build. Chicago presents a sharper picture. 121.7 points per game on 48% shooting, 30.2 assists shaping one of the East's most fluid offenses. Their defense gives up 121.9 points, still shaky, but far steadier than Washington's. With 47.3 rebounds, 5.3 blocks, and 8.3 steals. Chicago converts mistakes into points. Alex Sir leads Washington with 18.3 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 51.9% shooting, trying to anchor both ends. Keshad George adds 4.8 assists, and C.J. McCollum, Trey Johnson, and Cam Whitmore show flashes, though the flow remains inconsistent. Sir's 2.2 blocks protect the rim, but perimeter containment often falls apart, leaving Washington exposed. Chicago counters with a trio operating like near all-stars. Josh Giddey leads the offense with 20.8 points, 9.7 assists, 46.2% shooting, and command of pace. Vucevic anchors the paint with 9.9 rebounds and 48.5% efficiency. Kobe White has erupted since returning, averaging 28.0 points, 8.1 assists, and a blistering 47.1% from beyond the arc. Trey Jones adds 2.1 steals and sets the tone defensively. The battle lines are bold: Chicago's precision and balance versus Washington's vulnerability. Chicago's spacing stresses Washington's rotations. Unless Washington dominates the glass or slows the pace, Chicago's rhythm controls the night. Recent form widens the divide. Washington has dropped 5 straight by margins of 11, 17, 23, and 14 points, showing flashes of competitiveness but lacking endgame execution. Chicago enters at 2-3, but their direction is upward. They're playing high-level offense even in defeats and sharpening their late-game identity. The marquee duel becomes Sir versus Giddey, interior force against cerebral orchestrator. Sir thrives in slow, physical games. Giddey thrives in motion, angles, and early offense attacks. Chicago holds the tactical edge, and the first pick becomes clear: the Bulls win. Their rebounding fuels second-chance points, their spacing punishes Washington's rotations, and their defensive discipline overwhelms in the second half. Washington can compete early, but the Bulls' control, depth, and structure define the closing stretch. The second pick. Total over 241.5. The stage then shifts once more to Dallas hosting Memphis, a matchup dripping with tension as both teams fight to break out of early season struggles. Memphis at 5-11 sits third in the Southwest, Dallas at 4-12 not far behind. The predictor leans Dallas, 53.8%, with Memphis at 46.2%. Both teams are desperate. Both need a stabilizing win. One game won't fix everything, but it can steady a season, and the players know it. Memphis brings 112.8 points per game, built on pace, pressure, and relentless drives. Their defense allows 117.8, often placing them in high-scoring duels where momentum shifts fast. Dallas scores 110.3 points, 45% from the field, leaning on structured execution and half-court discipline. Their defense allows 116.9, nearly identical to Memphis. The Grizzlies hold the rebounding edge at 44.9, while Dallas edges them in assists at 23.9. Blocks favor Dallas, 6.1 to Memphis's 4.1, and steals mirror each other. Memphis relies on Morant's explosive 17.9 points, 7.6 assists, and 94.2% free throw shooting. His pace manipulation shapes everything. Santi Aldama adds 13.8 points and 6.7 rebounds, offering versatility. Jaren Jackson Jr. contributes 12.0 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks, anchoring their interior defense. Dallas counters with Cooper Flagg's 15.5 points, P.J. Washington's 7.7 rebounds, and D'Angelo Russell's steady 12.3 points and 5.0 assists. Brandon Williams pressures ball handlers with 1.6 steals, and Daniel Gafford protects the rim with 1.6 blocks. Recent form reveals everything. Memphis snapped a 4-game skid with a 137-96 explosion over Sacramento, showing their true ceiling. Dallas enters having lost 5 straight, though many of those came in heartbreak fashion. single possession endings, overtime battles, missed opportunities. The duel of the night becomes Morant versus Flagg and Russell, explosiveness against structure. Morant creates chaos, bends defenses, and attacks gaps. Russell counters with stability, control, and poise. Flagg adds the scoring layer that keeps Dallas in striking distance. The analysis leads to the prediction. Memphis needs chaos, rebounding domination, early clock drives, and transition bursts. Dallas needs control, spacing, shot making, and half-court execution. Memphis is missing key rotation players. Dallas is missing Anthony Davis and others, tightening the margin. The X factors surface. Dallas's rim protection, Memphis's transition attack, the impact of depth players forced into bigger roles. If the game becomes fast and loose, Memphis gains the edge. If it slows, Dallas finds comfort. But Memphis's renewed confidence, transition force, and a standout Morant performance tilt the final minutes. Dallas keeps it close, but second-chance scoring and fast break bursts shape the story. The first pick, Dallas Mavericks winner. The second pick, total over 220.5. 7 games, 7 stories, 14 picks. A night filled with teams searching for identity, battling for momentum, and fighting to rewrite their trajectories before the season's narrative starts to solidify. If you enjoy deep dive breakdowns like these, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a new upload. Beyond the Box Score is just getting started, and we've got a whole season of storylines to uncover together. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Stay locked in, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next video.